A wee bit of time travel in this episode. Welcome back to the Shop on the channel. In this video, I'm going to build the fake hull section that I used to demonstrate at Old London Town and Gardens last weekend. Make any sense? Yeah, if you saw my little pop-up video on the 15th and 16th, I did a demo on boat building at Old London Town and Gardens in Edgewater, Maryland. Link in the description. But what I'm doing is I'm building a demonstrator piece that has a section that is like a hull for a smaller boat and a section that's like a hull for a larger boat, you know, ship or something like that, a small ship. And I'm demonstrating, of course, the caulking techniques used on either and the materials used on either. I'm also going to make up some little models of how boats are, sections and things, how boats are fastened together and how they've been fastened together for years. Starting with wooden trunnels and then wrought iron rivets. And now we use screws, silicon bronze or stainless steel screws to put these wooden boats together. So let's get to planing some wood down to some thicknesses and cutting it to shape and putting the bevels on it. I'll show you that as I go along in sections. And then I have to design up a mounting thing for it to stick to the thing. Or if I get up to London Town before the event, and if I can find a place to clamp this to the workbench, I'll do that. I'll just put it on some verticals and clamp it to the workbench. It's going to go on verticals anyway, but I'll clamp it to the workbench at the carpenter shop. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, it's at the carpenter shop at Old London Town. So let's get busy making a small section of a boat. I got them planed to the thickness I want. For the small boat demo, it's 5/8. When I've built small boats in the past, the planks are anywhere from 3/8 of an inch to 5/8 of an inch, in that ballpark. Very small clinker built boats or lapstrake. Could be thinner. This is going to be not lapstrake. This is going to be what's called caravel planking, which is one plank up against the next. That's caravel planking. So that's for the small boat. For the large boat thing, I've got, this is like 1 3/8, and I need to cut these to length, but I'm going to do that first before I do anything else. They're all the same length, because the rest of it is just trimming, ripping on the table saw the edges off of this, where it came out of a 2x4, and the width of this, which is going to be a little narrower than what I have here, and then the angles on the sides that represent the bevel to put the caulking into the boat. So let me go ahead and go over to the chop saw and cut these. I think I'm going to go 18 inches length. I don't think I need more than that for each individual plank, but they'll all be the identical size. So my imitation planks are beveled on one edge. See that? And this is for demonstration purposes only, because this is not how it works in the real world. And then when you take the next plank and put it up against it, you have a wedge, or you have that bevel there where you can caulk the boat. But in the real world, boats are literally not flat-sided, sailboats anyway. They're curved. They can have a run of on either side that might be a little flat, but when you get to the turn of the bilge and you put a bevel on your plank and you get to the turn of the bilge, now the plank's got to go this way. You see that opening up? So when you, after spiling the plank up, when you're going to cut the bevels, you usually do it by hand with a plane, and you determine how far you need to do that, because as you turn around the bilge, that joint is going to open up further, so you want either a finer bevel or no bevel at all cut into the wood, because the turn of the bilge will give you that curve, that slot between the planks to caulk it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do up a storyboard showing that. In other words, this has been hollowed out to fit the frames, and this has been smoothed out to fit the curve of the boat, so it's actually curved like that. And I'll have that on a little piece of wood that I can show. This is what it really looks like in the real world, because when you plank a boat, you hollow the inside of the plank to fit the frames, curve of the frames, get all the planks fastened up, and then, now you've got a flat side like this and a flat side like that, so it kind of goes like that. So when you do is, this is where the real art in boat building and planking comes in, is you fair the hull. I'm not going to go into detail, but with smooth planes, sanding boards, and torture boards, you fair the hull. If you want to see this being done, I'll put a link in the description of someone using some torture boards to sand their boat. Yeah, they're called torture boards for a reason. So I'm going to get on to making the little like diorama pieces that I'm going to put on the storyboard. After I got the planks done to shape and with the bevel on them, I fastened them to some pieces of oak that replicate the frames of the boat. And there's all the screws. There's a lot of screws when you're building boats. Let's take a look at what we've got here. So here's my large boat representation and my small boat representation. These are basically counterboarded and screwed in with modern screws, but I've got representations of fastening systems from the past. And specifically, these are what we refer to as trunnels or tree nails. They're fastened through the frame and the plank, and then they're wedged in on either side and then trimmed off. I've got two here that represent trunnels. I've got a section here that represents nails, with boat nails, which would normally go through the frame and clinched over on the other side. These are just hammered in there so you can see them. And here I've got two silicon bronze screws holding these planks up here. Just an example. They'll be left exposed. So this kind of represents. What I don't have is wrought iron rivets. For the longest time, for centuries, wrought iron rivets were used to fasten boats together. Basically, it's a rod of wrought iron with a rove goes on either side, and then it's peened over, and that holds the boat together. The schooner I used to sail on, this one right here, her planks were held on with wrought iron rivets. Now the next step is I have to bung the holes, which means I cut out these bungs here. They're going to go into the counterbores, and then they're going to be trimmed off and sanded smooth, so it'll really look like a boat hull. And now how I made these, with the standard, you can buy anywhere, plug cutter. It goes into a drill press. What I do is, like you normally do, is you just make a bunch of them in a row on a piece of wood, then you slice it off on the bandsaw and they fall out. So that's all my bungs I'm going to glue in here, shave off, and then sand. So let me get busy with that. I'll do that off camera, and then we can manufacture and assemble the stand for this, for me to be able to demonstrate what I'm doing, and also people can look at the back and see the frames, the frames. Prepped for the stand, which I haven't put together yet. So this is going to be about this high, so I can use the tools easily on it. Now, what I'm adding to it, I mentioned earlier about the curve of the bilge. This little plaquey thing here represents the curve of the bilge here. This is the frame. These are two planks, and there's the gap. It shows sometimes you have to put a negative bevel on your piece of wood because of the when you take the wood and you open it, you put this one here and this one here, it's too wide, so you make it so it's close, and then you trim it, you plane to make it fit. This is going to be a demonstration seam. It'll be painted in the center, it'll be loose oakum here, and then cocked and gagged up here, and then final cocked here, and then linseed putty or glazing putty put over that, and painted from here to there, so that it gives you a quick glance of the process of caulking a seam. So the next step, obviously, is to put this thing, well, next step is put my chisels away, and to set up the height on the 2x4s where I want this, and then cut the 2x4s off and build a base kind of thing for it. We'll see how that works out. So this is the start of the stand. So I've got 69-inch pieces of a 2x4, and this fake representation of a boat side is right where I want it, kind of like, so I can get the caulking tools right about here. And then the demonstrator piece for the round turn of the bilge and the caulking, how it goes on in here, is right here. Now I'm going to screw this in, and that's going to be screwed in from the inside. Screw this from the front, and then I'll go ahead and do the treatment on this, but I probably will take this back off to do that. So let me get this screwed together, and I'll stand it up and we can look at it. And there you go. I still have to put a base on this. So actually I can sit here and I can drive, you know, caulking into the seams without a problem. Use a skinny one for here, and I'll when I finish this and make it look like a finished boat part, I'll go ahead and show that. But for right now, this is done. For now, it's done. So next trick, of course, is to, like I said, get it on a base. I'm going up this afternoon to get some measurements to see where I can put this in the carpenter shop, and how I can situate it to make it easier for people to get around and whatever. But that's just a little trip up the road. So let me get this done, get the base on this, and I'll show you the finished product. And it's done. The demonstrator board teaching item I've used at London Town last weekend. No, I don't have a TARDIS, but from this explanation earlier on in this video is dropping after the event. So after my excursion up to London Town, I discovered I did not need to make a base for this, because I can clamp it to the workbench that's in the carpenter shop, and it'll hold very nicely, and that's fine. We'll do it that way. So quick explanation as before: large boat, small boat, turn of the bilge example, how you have to back cut the planks to fit the frame and then smooth the boat on the outside. This represents this piece of planking before this work was done to it. I've got a little example here of doing the string thing, where you use a cotton string and a roller. This is a modern roller, obviously, a screen roller, but this is before screen rollers were even invented. And you get a roller that can just roll this into the seam nice and tight, and then you can put your compound on there and your paint. So that's for smaller boats. This here is an example. It's basically kind of a timeline. It's the process that you use to start the caulking process and finish it. Let's come take a closer look. This is called gagging here, where you loop the fiber material up into the seam, do 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 feet. Then you come back with another iron and you pound it deep into the seam to tighten the planks together. Then on top of that goes the seam compound. In this case, I'm using glazing compound, but it mimics the linseed putty that was used back in the day pretty accurately. Then on top of that goes primer. On top of that goes your color, or whatever you're painting the boat with, whatever paint you're using. So this is the process. This does not keep water out of the boat. This is what keeps the water out of the boat. So with that, I hope I ran into some, maybe some came by and took a look a week ago, even though anyway, you get the picture. So now that this is done, I can go up in my 18th century garb, in my shipbuilder stuff, and demo this and show people how boats were caulked and sealed more than 2 centuries ago. So anyhow, and with that, we'll end this video here, and until next time, make great things out of wood.